Ultiworld's live streaming coverage of the 2023 College Championships is presented by Breakmark Ultimate.
It's day one of the 2023 Division III College Championships. We got some Pool B action for you in the men's division. And we're live from Columbus, Ohio. Theo Wan here with Mike Ball, bringing you the number 7 seed Williams Wufo in dark, taking on the number 11 seed Navy Poseidon in white. Mike, this is going to be an entertaining matchup, but these two teams coming from two different paths right now from the first time slot that we just had.
Yeah, Theo, great to be here. Happy to be joining you again on a call at D3 Nationals. And as you alluded to, two teams entering this game coming off of very, very different round ones. On one side, you had Williams, who took care of business against Colorado School of Mines, the bottom seed in the pool, winning the game decisively. And on the other side of things, you have Navy, who ran into a buzzsaw with the number 2 overall seed, St. Olaf Berserkers, in the top seed in the pool, and lost pretty handily in their first game as well. So both teams played about the same number of points in their first game, so their legs should be in similar places, but their mentalities are going to be a little bit different coming into this game, with one team looking to turn things around and the other looking to keep the momentum going.
These two teams met in pool play last year as well, so it's kind of fun to see a rematch a whole year later.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And if my memory serves me correctly, I believe Navy got the better of that matchup. And so, you know, this time it's looking like it could be a little different, but it should be another exciting game.
Williams finishing 12th last year in 2022. Navy finishing 9th. Both teams looking to get into the quarters and beyond here, and it's going to start with this matchup as Williams coming on in a vertical stack set. McBain with the disc here for Williams. So working out here on this offensive point, trying to be smooth as butter if they can.
And you see Danny Klein here with the disc right now for Wufo. He was their assist leader on the O-line in their first game, and he's going to be heavily involved here. Look for him to kind of always be around the disc, looking to get it back when he doesn't have it.
Yeah, aforementioned Klein with the Frisbee right now. Was looking for Kendall, going to find him in the end zone. Reed Kendall will get on the board, and you mentioned Klein, and he's going to get involved right away.
Yeah, first assist for Klein. That won't be the last that we see from him. Decent defense from Navy there. It looked like there was a couple of high stall scenarios there, but it looked like the mark might have gotten a little bit greedy there as the stall count rised, looking to try and maybe get a point block or something, and instead let up an easy throw up the break side. And that's a clean hold for Williams, an excellent start for Wufo.
And now we get a chance to look at Navy's offensive line, and you talked about this on a podcast not too long ago there, Mike, for those who tune into Deep Look. But Navy has a different style or a unique style of ultimate and a perspective as well.
Yeah, I think the uniqueness comes in their roster construction, in that you see most of the time teams really trying to load up on their O-line and make sure that their O-line is as steady as can be. And, you know, Navy certainly still has a strong O-line. You don't make it to nationals without having a strong O-line, right? Guys like Jack Bassett, Ryan Hogg, these guys are solid, but the real strength is their D-line, and they've won games on the back of their D-line this year, going on massive runs. So with this O-line, it's really going to be about doing a serviceable enough job to keep that D-line on the field and stack up breaks that way.
Patty centers it to Bassett as they get things moving. Bassett in power position, no one going deep. So going to settle for underneath cut instead, but it's blocked, a run-through block. Having his fingerprints over this game. High stall count coming, needs a reset. Going to flip it up, and that's going to work out with the face-guarding defender there for Hogan.
Yeah, not sure this is the reset system that Coach Stira would have been teaching for Navy here. They're really struggling to find any sort of resets that are in flow, and it's making it hard to connect with the cutters downfield, although we see Bassett go deep here.
Dunn looking for Bassett. Great, pretty flick throw from Chuck Dunn, the Spirit captain, making it 1-1.
Yeah, we saw a lot of work from Bassett in the handler space, and we were talking about the congestion back there and some of those resets looking pretty ugly, and I think a lot of it was things getting too crowded and needing to space the field, and you saw Bassett kind of sense it there, just breaking down field to where the space was, field opened up, and that's a great throw, hits him in stride, and little hiccup early there from Navy. They get let off the hook at the goal line, and they're able to find their hold to even things up.
You certainly don't want to see them go down 2-0 there early, and they've able to solve that and see if they can put some pressure on the Williams O-line. Williams getting a clean hold to start this contest. So we'll see what Navy's defense can do right now. You mentioned them kind of stacking up their D-lines with some of their better players. Benedetti about to pull here for Navy. He's an important part of this team.
Yeah, he is. He's one of their captains, as is Michael Pyle. You'll see he's going to be, one on the line there. I believe he wears number 32, and he's the guy who's going to take the toughest cutter matchup for that Navy D-line. And a lot of times when you see guys match up against top cutters, it's a matter of containing them and trying to just limit the effect that they have. But Pyle's a guy that's not just going to do that. He's going to go and actually find blocks and create opportunities for his team and then be involved on the turn to try and wear that star player out. Look for him to be heavily involved for their D-line in this game.
Led the team in blocks for the second straight season. So Michael Pyle, an important part of this squad. Williams coming out in a vertical stack set once again. And of course it'll be Danny Klein, captain, picking up.
And he'll huck early if there's a look. If something opens up fresh off the pull, he'll huck early.
Had Overholt going deep, but instead it's a set play that finds an underneath cut to Triggs, fellow captain. The disc finds its way back to Klein here. You can see him loading up for that huck shot, but instead gonna go for an undercut instead.
Yeah, Navy's running a force middle here. We'll see how long they stick with it. A lot of teams will fall out of it once you get in the red zone, but they're staying with it to this point. It's a great
throw gonna work just near the end zone for Kendall. Those two connected on the first goal. Klein looking like he was trying to flip it in. Instead goes to Kendall for the reset. They swing it around and it will work out for Williams. Kellen McBain getting on the board.
Yeah, interesting there. I was talking before the point about, Michael Pyle matching up with the opponent's top cutter, but he actually took the Klein matchup there and trying to hassle the Williams, the straw that stirs their drink, if you will, and trying to get in there. And Klein was able to be effective on that point still. You saw his hands all over the disc there, able to break the mark, too, to really open up that force middle defense. And that's going to be a battle to watch. I wonder if that's a matchup we'll consistently see.
So Williams, another clean hold to start this contest as we get a look at some of the matchups from pool play. Anything stick out to you so far, Mike, from what we see?
Well, it was chalk across the board except for in one place. You see there in Pool D, Missouri S&T, the 9 seed, gets the upset over Whitman, the 4 seed, and the 1 seed in that pool. Pool D, you get that 4-5-9 grouping there of 3 teams that are pretty close together, and Missouri S&T is actually fairly underseeded in this tournament. One of the rules for people that might not know with D3 is we avoid regional rematches in pool play. So S&T really should have been the 8 seed, but because Colorado College is the #1 overall seed in that pool already, S&T got bumped into that Pool D, and you see there early that they're a bit overqualified for their seeding. Going to be something to watch there. They're playing Richmond now in that pool, and if Missouri S&T wins that game, they've effectively locked up that pool. So something to keep an eye on there. We've got reporters all around the complex. Keep an eye on the UltiWorld Live Twitter account to see to keep up with the scores and the news going on there.
We have Richmond and Whitman on the live stream as well. And Benedetti crossing over to the offensive line looking for Bassett. And it's caught and ruled in. So Benedetti coming over to offense, making an impact right away with a deep shot to Bassett for Bassett's second goal.
Yeah, and most importantly, that's the second time we've seen Bassett go deep and be effective in the deep space. I really like that from him, evaluating his matchup and figuring out where he's going to be most effective. We know he wants to be around the disc, but evaluating in this specific situation where he's going to be most effective. And, he's a big athletic kid, and he's able to go downfield and use that to his advantage. And really, really good adjustment from him. We'll see if that's kind of a cat and mouse game, if Williams maybe switches up their matchup to try and put him back into the handler space.
I was going to ask you that with Coach Will Savage. What are you going to try to dial up from Williams right now? You've seen Bassett go deep twice. You going to still try to let him go into the deep space or try to push him back as a handler?
You know, it's early in the game still. It's 2-2, and nothing's happened yet other than both O-lines doing their jobs. I maybe feel it out a little bit more and see if that's something that Navy's willing to commit to and stick to and something that Bassett's going to continuously do before making any adjustments. But, you know, game to 15, these are long games, right? There's plenty of time for adjustments and tinkering, and if that's something that Navy continues to hone in on and take advantage of, then certainly look to switch up that matchup or maybe switch up what you're doing up front to try and discourage some of those deep shots.
This WUFO offensive line yet to turn it over here. Klein picking up, had Kendall going deep, but Sun comes under.
Sun had a really strong showing in the first game for the Williams offense. He was real clean, picked his spots really well, had really nice timing on cuts to get himself open. Not someone who's going to really do anything too flashy, but just seemed to always make the right play.
Overholt resetting it to Klein, and Klein's going to rip this out into space. Will it stay in? And ruled out of bounds. McBain was the receiver, but Navy an opportunity now.
Yeah, open cut and not a bad look to throw, just ran out of real estate. Needed to put a little more edge on it to make that disc drop in bounds before fading out the back. And now we'll see Navy if they can take advantage of their first break opportunity.
Benedetti getting the disc to the middle. Talked about the powerful defensive line. Can they make a stand right now? And that throw goes in and out of the hands for Hogg. Tried to clap catch that one.
Right through the mitts there. He had it, just a simple drop. As we see Williams return the favor. Navy looking to fast break.
Just in the middle of the field here for Navy. Veloz finds a reset. Moving backwards here is Navy, and they go inside shot. And great catch block there. Buckeye.
Exceptional block there. Great body control to go up and get it.
Buckeye now in power position. Has Sun going deep.
Oh, it's out the back again. Way out the back.
A little too much power there. I think you get powered up when you get the block.
Yeah.
You get a lot of energy out there, Mike.
Yeah,
you saw that right there.
You hear the phrase conservation of greatness thrown around a lot in Ultimate. I think the young man's adrenaline was through the roof there, and you know he was he was seeing red there. He was going to shoot that no matter what.
Buckeye, a rookie from I think your neck of the woods in North Carolina, playing for Triforce last year. So
decent amount of talent coming out of that area.
I think I've heard of that program. Veloz finds Wulo Journey in a nice undercut. Has a receiver going deep and does throw it up to McDougal. Excuse me, that's Hogg. Hogg can't get there.
Yeah, not a great throw, but the receiver still had a chance to come down with it, got his hands on it. That's 3 failed attempts at a break for Navy here. You wonder how many more chances they're going to get on this point as Klein puts one up.
Overholt lays out for the score. It took them a few tries, but Williams gets the hold.
Yeah, and you'd seen 2 hooks go out the back there, but not that time. Klein able to dial in the touch to put it where only his receiver was going to get to it. What a perfect layout. Nice thick grass out here in Ohio, and he's able to come up with the hold. WUFO able to withstand the pressure from that Navy D-line and escape with the hold to keep things on serve up to 3-2.
The weather is also looking great right now. It's starting to be sunny skies as we see some of the blocks. I hear Buckeye with the catch block. And the field, having been wet earlier, is going to lead to some sliding layouts, and the players are going to have fun with that.
Yeah, you're going to see, you saw the slide as you saw the replay of that layout goal. You saw how far he skid afterwards. And, you know, it was gross this morning. It was rainy and cloudy and pretty miserable, just to be frank. But the sun's starting to come out here in Ohio, and, you know, the nice soft surface for these players to lay out on. And it's shaping up to be a perfect day here, and we've got an exciting game so far here early on.
Thank you once again for tuning in. And if you want to catch more D3 coverage, make sure you get an Ulti-World subscription to see all of the games. We got another one coming at you behind us. that for subscribers only. So 2 games around, Mike. That's unprecedented. We didn't have this last year nor the year before.
19 games total. We've got a ton of coverage coming for you this weekend. Should be lots of exciting games. Don't miss any of it. Grab a subscription and tune in.
Great undercut block there. And Williams a break opportunity, and it won't last too long, but there is a foul call, so we might go back here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if people noticed Charlie Tannen when he came through and got that block. His matchup got him on the back a little bit, and there was a little bit of a stare down and some contact on the popped up disc there, and just consecutive plays with contact. Things getting a little chippy here, getting physical, and we'll see what the observer's ruling is on this one.
Tannen, you mentioned, is a big-time player for them. He was up on the awards podium there last year, second runner-up for Rookie of the Year. So you know he's going to make an impact for Williams, number 8 in dark.
Yeah, and he was fantastic in the first round here, too. He had 5 assists and 4 blocks, a couple of them in spectacular fashion. One play in particular early in the second half that really kind of put the game to bed. Had a sweet layout on an inside flick attempt and then came up and shot a huck right away for the break. As we see him uncork a hammer here.
The hammer not going to work out, so had pre-pronounced a turnover. It is indeed a turnover now, so maybe a second opportunity on this offensive point with Bassett. Going to work with Hogan here in the handler space.
Nice flow here up the force side for Navy. As we see Bassett run deep again, but Tannen is able to get another run-through block on an under. He's just baiting those looks and exploding through his matchup. Number 14 there, Josh Moran, just can't keep up with Tannen.
At some point, they're going to have to not look at that matchup and kind of get it away from Tannen's check. As he goes with a visionary backhand. What a shot. Jonah Tobin, a captain, coming down with the score and the break, but that's some vision with that throw.
An inch perfect throw. You saw Bassett try and go up and get the block. Hard to get peak elevation when you're fading backwards like that, but that disc was just inches over Bassett's outstretched hand, and perfect view of it from our camera angle. You could see the disc just gently rising to the perfect level for Tobin to go up and make the play. You know, in our preview before New England Regionals, Theo, I described Williams' play style as being fun and loose in a way that can become overpowering for their opponents, and the team actually really liked that description. They told us that they felt like that was an appropriate description, and I think you saw it there. They play in a way that is like whatever the opposite of risk averse is, right? It's like they invite risk. It's like the more
it's our identity.
Yeah, exactly. But like what might seem risky or sketchy to one team is like what they embrace and want to do. And when that stuff starts working, it gets in your opponent's head, because now every throw is a possibility to go up. Every cut is a possibility to get thrown to. And that kind of relentlessness in their decision making can become overwhelming to opponents, and they can really suck teams into playing their style, and they're always going to win when they're playing that style if they can get their opponent to do it with them. We'll see if Navy can be resilient here and stick to their game plan.
Big guns out here for Navy. Chuck Dunn is there, Jack Bassett. We see Benedetti as well.
Yeah, Benedetti getting the Tannen matchup this time. We'll see if Tannen's able to get his 3rd block of the game, but a miscommunication on the reset gives Williams the disc around midfield for another break opportunity.
Belair's was on the mark, causing some issues there with that miscommunication, and now Williams, 2nd straight break opportunity. Tamarchenko getting underneath. See how they like to play this offensive set here. You do like, and you talked about their looseness. See if they decide to fire it deep right now. Not sure who the intended receiver was, but it's going to be over to Navy for this offensive point still.
Yeah, that's a little bit of the give and take with Tannen. Oh, what a grab from Benedetti. I mean, you saw the inch perfect backhand last point, but he had the hammer turnover before that and then threw that backhand to nobody in space. He will turn the disc over. That's some of the bad that you have to take with the good that he's capable of, and it's just something that Williams is willing to deal with everything they get from him. You see the throw go up, but there was an injury a few throws ago, so this should be coming back.
Benedetti very dangerous in those power positions as well. So I think the Williams sideline would be best to call out when he has the disc in power position, make sure the last back is aware of what's happening, because he's going to let those rip
that's fine.
downfield.
We just wanted to figure out when play stopped. So we have an injury called before this throw, so we'll send it back here.
Yeah, as I alluded to there, an injury call is going to bring that disc back. You spoke about Benedetti's power, and something, you know, I was the tournament director for Atlantic Coast Regionals, so I've seen a decent bit of Navy play. Something I saw teams try and do was switch to a backhand force against Benedetti, because he throws his flick with so much velocity and edge that he can really carve defenses open with it. We'll see. He hasn't really opened the field up too much yet, but if that's something that he's able to get going, we'll wait to see if there's an adjustment from Williams. We see Navy able to go right up the force side. That looked like number 42, Dalton Jones, finding his teammate Thomas Bowie in the end zone. Navy able to get the hold after a turnover gives Williams another chance at a break to extend the lead, but Navy's able to calm things and get a much-needed hold.
Calming the potential break train that was rolling out of the Williams station there. The team out of Williamstown, Massachusetts. And you talked about the Atlantic Coast Regionals. This team of Navy, the second place final, taking down Elon in a great game. What did you see? You were probably there for that one.
Sure.
What was that game like?
So the story of Navy all season has been incredible highs and very low lows. This team maybe has a wider range of potential outcomes in their performance than any team I've seen in the division this year. At their absolute best, we've seen them hang with some of the top teams in the country. They beat Richmond, the 5 seed in the tournament, 10-8 earlier this season. But at their lowest lows, we've seen now from both sides, something to watch to see which team can dial in being able to find that space.
We saw this in the first possession for Williams. They have to deal with the Navy zone. Bassett around the disc, kind of in between that wedge that they have. He's hunting for a block out there. As this hammer goes up, finds Kendall. Let's see if they can break out here, and not let the zone set, as Navy looks like they're in person now. Sun on that far side.
It was a good hammer from Klein to kind of get over the top of that zone, but equally good communication from Navy to fall out of that zone quickly and kind of stifle any kind of continuation out of that hammer.
Potential stall down call here. Benedetti on the mark. An observer ruling it not a stall down, so the disc will continue down the field for Williams with Klein. Cambridge, Massachusetts product with the disc. Played for Sorted Beans all the way back in 2021, and he's going to go down the line looking for Buckeye. And that's always a tough one. You got the defender, you got the line, and good coverage there from Michael Powell.
Yep, and that's the block machine we talked about, right? That's the team leader in blocks. And, you know, we saw him on Klein earlier in the game. Not a matchup that's great for him. He's much better operating downfield, guarding cutters. And you see the change there, putting him downfield, and it pays dividends with a block. And now Navy's got another chance to get their break back.
Great defense from Klein, forcing that reset, but now was going to say Benedetti had it in power position, but
I think Benedetti knew he had it in power position. As we see Klein showing him what power position looks like, shoots it out the back of the end zone. And this is a little bit more of what we expected from these two teams, right? Two teams that want to shoot it deep and want to be aggressive in their decision making, and both teams struggling to dial it in right now, but you get the feeling that one of these is going to connect here shortly.
interesting too that we've seen it go left to right on your screen out of bounds, but this time right to left. Williams putting in that direction as they're trying to poach off. And now Powell, he's going to put a flick that's going to be short, or excuse me, go over the head of everyone.
Bassett skies his own teammate to come down with it. Navy on the doorstep.
Bassett resets it to Benedetti. Doorstep of a break. Fakes it to Bassett, go inside instead, and the Lowe's, not sure if there's going to be a call, maybe an injury.
Yeah, that's the powerful flick we mentioned from Benedetti, but a situation where a little bit more touch was needed in a tight window like that. And Navy, that's twice now they've gotten to the doorstep but been unable to punch their break in. And now Williams with the full 70 to get their hold.
Benedetti going to provide a long mark here against Williams. And Klein goes around with the backhand. Picked up by McBain. Buckeye had a receiver going deep and over Holt, but going to holster it and go reset instead. Sunstorm going to hang up, and he can't catch it. Wasn't tipped, so it's going to result in a Navy opportunity. Benedetti shooting right away. And it's a break for Poseidon. Ryan Hogg, the receiver, with the goal. And we got a tie game.
Yeah, we asked just a few throws ago, a few turnovers ago, which team would be the first one to dial in going to that corner where we've seen the disc go out the back. And Benedetti able to find the touch on that one, puts it on a platter for Hogg. And just like that, we've got a tie ball game. And that was a bit of a grindy point. Both teams are going to need to switch up their lines a little bit coming out of this point. As we see a few possessions ago, Bassett just skying his own player. And yeah, that throw just getting caught up in the wind. We mentioned that breeze going that direction. That disc, the bottom side of it got exposed to that breeze, and it's able to pop it right backwards for the turnover. It's a breathtaking game so far, Theo. Just a lot of action, both teams being really aggressive. It's hard to dive into conversation because it feels like every time we do, something else goes up.
You think it's back and forth of them just swinging the disc, but then it's a deep shot right away here. And one thing we want to note as well is the weather. It's starting to get a lot warmer here, so players got to make sure they're hydrated because that first time slot, it was a little bit chillier. It was wet. People probably not as hydrated, drinking that pickle juice. But now you got to make sure you do that. It's sunny out here in Ohio.
Yeah, and these teams, too, they're the best of the best, right? They're the best in their region. So while they might be used to playing 3 games in a day, they're not used to playing 3 nationals games in a day. That's a different type of game, and it requires a different level of intensity. And, you know, this is kind of that tipping point as we near the midpoint of the day, right? Every team's going to have 3 games. We're, you know, starting to approach halftime of that second game where, you know, that could start to become a factor, and we'll see which team's able to hold up best as the game progresses.
Bellairs flipping it back to Klein. Risky pass, and Klein going deep, looking for Kendall, and that connection is going to work out. He's holding the shooter sign out here because he just made a nice throw. I'm not even sure if that's the side he's holding up at that point.
I'm not sure what this sign is. It looked like a Captain Hook finger more than anything, but I hope we can see on the replay, Klein caught that reset with his right hand and never reestablished his grip. He caught it and threw it, never touching it with his left hand. He's able to grab it, get his grip set, and throw. I have a feeling that's the hook he was throwing up to.
That's the hook he was talking about.
Just a sticky hand there, a sticky finger from him as he's able to hook the disc and get it into his grip right away. I was kind of chuckling when it happened right away. I'm not sure how apparent it was on the stream. I'm glad we were able to catch that on camera. Just a really cool play there from Klein. That's pretty sweet.
One more. That's worth one more look, Mike.
Yeah,
we got to look at it one more
glance.
time. I thought he was holding the shooter symbol, but it's actually the hook. And he might have a new nickname potentially. What a flick out into space. And we've seen it now from both teams. They've dialed in throwing left to right. The last 2 Hawks have been pretty shots that have been in bounds.
Yeah, and you know, we talked about it. Can the players feel the wind? The wind has picked up just a little bit. It's not crazy, right? It's still probably around 10 miles an hour, but it's noticeable to where these players are going to be keeping it in mind on every single throw. So I think that this sounds counterintuitive that a stronger wind is going to make them better throwers, but when they can really feel it and really like factor it into their decision making and take it more seriously, I think it's making them think about it more and be more intentional with the edge that they put on the disc.
Horizontal stack coming out here. McDougal finds Benedetti. You won't see him take many points off for this Navy side. Bowie, who's already received 1 goal, trying to get on the scoreboard once again, but had it underneath. Inside shot. Great save there from Chuck Dunn.
Great grab to save possession.
Dunn once again finds Benedetti. Had Bassett in the deep space, gonna laser it out to him. And that connection's gonna work out. That's 69-12 for the score.
that's a throw that I'm not sure many coaches out there watching this game are going to see and clip to send to their team as a look that they want them to take, but that's the kind of throw that star players are able to make, and Benedetti makes it look easy. I mean, he takes that from the middle of the field, paints the back corner of the end zone perfectly. Nice towing from Bassett there, but that's really Benedetti putting it in a spot where only his receiver is going to get to it. As we take another look here at how the goal developed. It's interesting, again, that we're seeing Bassett able to push downfield. I think it's important to note that when Benedetti crosses over to the O-line, it kind of enables Bassett to go downfield, right? Like, it frees Bassett up to move downfield without having to worry about the flow in the handler space. And so, you know, Benedetti certainly, his chief concern is anchoring that D-line, but when he's able to cross over for O points, it's able to shift the roles on that line, and Bassett's been able to be effective moving downfield. Something to watch as we progress in this game.
As we get a look at Dave Steer, the coach, been told it's his last year with the Poseidon squad, and I spoke to the captains before the game, and they were very excited for the opportunity to play for him one last time and know that he's the heartbeat of the team, volunteer coach who gives of his time to help make this Poseidon program run.
Yeah, Steer does a lot for this program, and you can see when you're around their sideline the trust that he has earned with that team and the relationship he's built with that team. He talks to them in a way that you won't hear other coaches talk to their team. Some of it's kind of stereotypical, like what you might expect from a military academy, but there's other teams that I've seen kind of be like put off by how he might talk to his players, but it doesn't ever faze his players. They all trust him and know that, like, he cares about them and wants the best for them, and no matter what intensity he communicates that with. As we see the huck go up, Bassett is lurking. He doesn't need to get involved, though, as it goes out of bounds. That's what we're talking about, man. We can't go into any story time without a huck going up. It's crazy. Just kind of put a bow on that. You know, other teams might be thrown off by how Steer talks to them, but his team knows that he's talking to them with love, and it's all built out of the care he has for them as players and for the program as a whole. And he's built them into a nationals team, and he should be incredibly proud of the program that they are today and the role that he's had in building that.
Inside shot looking for Pyle. Good clap catch attempt, but Williams a short field turnover to work with, and over jumping it is Buckeye, and he then gets a block with his upper body. I don't think I've ever seen that on a broadcast. He jumps up and absolutely blocks the disc, the huck from Joe Veloz there. You talked about the back and forth action. It's happening right now. There's no story time.
What a wild sequence of events.
The wild sequence of events will end with Klein finding Overholt for the score. And I hope we can see that block one more time, because that was something I've never seen before. Buckeye first over jumps the disc, but then gets a huge block. That was insane, Mike. I got to catch my breath on that one.
3 consecutive throws. We go from a missed inside flick to then a rushed backhand that gets popped up in the wind, right into a huck, right in the defender's stomach. I mean, we're lucky we didn't see his breakfast again on that hit. He takes it right to the torso. What a shot. I mean, that's about as a chaotic a stretch of 3 throws as you're ever going to see, and very hilarious to me that it all ends in your classic dump and swing to the break side for the hold. You know,
it's all about the fundamentals, right? So you got to do the fundamentals right, and then you can get an upper body block as well, which will add to your stat sheet here. The rookie, you heard him say he's just a freshman, so Williams' future going to look bright if he's out there making plays like that.
You know, we've gone through all of this and the ups and downs and the craziness of this game, but at the end of it all, it's still on serve. It's 6'5" Williams, so it's been a roller coaster to get here, but you know, about a third of the way through the game, we're still sitting on serve, and it'll be interesting to see if either team can open things up a little bit before half. Something to note here, Benedetti not on the field, Bassett back into the handler space. We'll see if the O-line's able to be as effective with him kind of playing behind the disc as they're able to be when he's downfield.
Bassett looking like he was going to throw and go, gets the backhand, going to put the backhand huck into space, and that's a shot from Jack Bassett finding Nathan McDougall. And he's so dangerous to cover right now. He's going to go deep. He's going to put it out into space.
Well, you know, I posited the question about if he would be just as effective being behind the disc as he's been being downfield and kind of pushing ahead of things. And I think he answered that
He heard
pretty
you.
clearly. Yeah, I'm not sure if he heard me or not, but he put any concerns about that to rest pretty quickly. What a dangerous and versatile player for Navy, having an excellent game so far and really stepping up and making some big plays for Poseidon.
Williams not electing to cross over many of their offensive players. Haven't seen Klein out on defense yet, or maybe a tall cutter like Overholt. And so they're running kind of more their traditional D-line, see if they tighten things up. Tandem is out there, and Belaris has played a lot of D points for them. As their offense back out on the field, the usual suspects for them in Sun, Kendall, Oscar Triggs, Kellen McBain, and Klein, of course, and the one who got the block earlier, and Buckeye, and Overholt.
You know, it's interesting to me, despite these turnover-heavy points and some of these, you know, very, very long contested battles, that both teams haven't used a timeout yet in this half. And we're nearing halftime. You don't get to take them with you to the second half. So, you know, something for both these teams to keep in mind is they're running out of chances to maybe flip the script of the game before halftime, see if a timeout might come into play and matter here before we get to halftime.
Ryan holstered the big shot out there, finding Sun instead, and around to Buckeye. Buckeye drawing the pile matchup right now, so they see what the impact he's had, so they're going to put their best defender on him. Triggs getting it under pressure. Finding it back to Kendall. For Holt, but settles for underneath.
Good mark there from Benedetti, denying the around, forcing it up the line.
He needed a reset badly, does get one. Buckeye gets the flip on the front cone. And snagging it out of the air is Kendall for the score and the hold.
Impressive point from Buckeye there. You spotted it early, Theo, drawing the pile matchup and unaffected by it, still able to get the disc in dangerous positions, and not the prettiest point from the Williams offense. Some of their spacing wasn't ideal, and you know, things got a little clogged around the disc a couple different occasions for some tough resets. But you know, a clean hold is a clean hold, and they'll take them any way they can get them.
7-6 the score here. Will Williams power up a defensive line? You mentioned the timeouts, and as I say that, a timeout has been called by WUFO. Coach Mike Ball up here as my color analyst, drawing some inspiration for calling the timeouts. Williams up 7-6 right now in this exciting Pool B matchup.
What are they, spaceships from Mars? No, they're frisbees. Watch it soar. It flies way around like a bird. You can even run for a pass. You can play all kinds of games. Isn't it amazing? Frisbee Flying Saucer. Yours at toy, drug, and department stores.
First half action coming at you. We're near halftime right now. Williams up 7-6. They call a timeout. You know they're going to try to power up a defensive line, and take a look at some of the people out there, Mike. They clearly want this defensive point. They've really powered up. I see Klein out there, Buckeye, who's made an impact on offense. So they're really trying to get this one. Kendall as well, who just scored the last goal.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, we talked about the fact that both teams have 2 timeouts left. And one of the concerns that you have when you try and load up a point to break for half like this is that if you don't get it, you have to turn around and then hold for half right after that, right? So if it doesn't pay off for you, then you put yourself in a situation where most of your O-line was just out there, and now you have to go and get a hold for half. But having that additional timeout gives them a little bit more freedom to where, you know, even if this does turn into a long point where they don't get the break, they can call that timeout to buy their O-line a little bit of rest before getting back out there. As we see Bassett sailing a flick out of bounds, and now Williams, with a stacked line on the field, has about 10 yards to go for the break to take half.
And you have your best handler in Klein picking up on this D-line offense. They came out in the zone look. Belair's going uncontested to the front cone. And Williams gets the break, and they're up at half, 8-6. That call worked out from Coach Savage there.
Yeah, wow. They that couldn't have gotten any better for Williams, right? They get the unforced error turn, have a red zone possession, and honestly, it's not going to be defense that Coach Steer likes to look back at here, just getting beat to the front cone. Surprising to see. We talked a lot about Williams having a stacked line, Theo, coming out of the timeout, but Navy just rolled with a traditional O-line group. They didn't stack it at all. Interesting decision there, and Bassett, you know, he's been so good all game, but that disc just sails out of bounds on him in front of.
And understand the value that they add.
The revolution of the disc in flight continues to prove
that there's nothing we can't achieve
when we
Pull together.
Long live Ultimate.
Larga vida Ultimate.
Long live Ultimate.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.
And that one is pulled down.
Josie Gillette, inside forehand to Warder, who goes up and gets it.
Villanueva with a blade and a great one-handed catch.
Caught by Chang.
Great layout block from Samuel. Alan Villanueva climbing the ladder and then jumping off the ladder. Mountain pops in the air and a great grab. Looking to break to take half. Rogowski to the end zone and the layout catch.
Welcome back to Old Two Worlds live coverage of the 2019 D3 College Championships from the center of the sun, College Station, Texas.
Abby Chang going for it all.
Absolutely, just ripped it.
Unmarked. And she puts up a beautiful shot.
And now Solomon challenging Chunmoy deep. And a great layout grab.
Around right for Samuels, and she tracks it down.
And a great layout catch block. And there it is, once again, Noah Chunmoy.
Braden Cowan.
DiLorenzo looking for the goal right away. That one's floating up. And Villanueva goes up. He goes up so early and so high. Great block.
Hand block by Gillette.
Salzman goes up big with the hut to DiLorenzo.
DiLorenzo has a step and the height advantage. Getting a great one-handed catch. Kai DiLorenzo, are you kidding me? Now looking to air it out once again, looking for Strensky. Great toe of the line by Zoe Hecht. But now Air Force airing it out, looking for Villanueva deep, and that is an absolute dime.
Now Gillette unmarked, and that's a recipe for a backhand huck. Hecht with the fall down forehand.
Making them 2019 national champions.
National championship in her hands.
Thank you, USA Ultimate!
Second half action coming at you from the 2023 D3 College Championships. Williams Wufo, the 7 seed in dark, pulling right now to Navy, Poseidon in white, the 11 seed. PO1 here with Mike Ball, and what a first half we had there.
Yeah, it was exciting action. It's funny, the break to take half might have been the least exciting point that we had in the half, despite it having the largest implications. And, you know, both teams have been aggressive with the disc and taking deep shots and such, as we see an upline pop up there over Bassett, and now Williams with another chance to break. Once again, Theo, we can't settle into any conversation here. The action happens just way too quickly for us.
Subaya inside shot to Belair's. Belair's caught the goal to get the break for this Williams side. And they're working open side right now. The force switches over here to backhand.
Yeah, you said working the force side. I'm not sure what the force was. It didn't seem like Navy did a good job of getting that set, and that might have been one of those things where they were confused, and so was Williams, as we see Bassett leaks out deep.
A collision between teammates. I think there should be an injury call here. With Subaya running into Belair's there. Yeah, that force did change a couple times, so
yeah,
I went with the force side that it looked like it was at the time.
Yeah, understandably confused on that one. I'm not sure there was, I think if you'd have polled 4 people on the field, I'm sure you'd have gotten like 3 different answers there on what was going on. But, you know, this collision happened, but it was, you know, there's no call or penalty on it, I don't think. I think it was just a couple of teammates running into each other, and so.
All right, are we good? All right, checking in at the disc when you're ready.
Bassett taps it in, but there are a lot of people running before that disc was tapped in. Bassett has been in the backfield at this point with no Benedetti on the field currently. High stall, inside shot's gonna work out for Navy. That's Patty finding his target.
Yeah, that's a great find from Patty. You can kind of see it from our vantage point here in the commentator's booth. You saw that cut get set up there. Number 30, Charles Dunn. You could see him kind of drive towards the front cone. His defender overcommitted, and he's able to just 7 back. Good angle here. Tandem there gets caught disc watching a little bit. He knows it as soon as it goes up. He knows he got caught there. Something important to note that kind of changed during half. We talked about there being a subtle breeze moving from left to right on your screen. It shifted into much more of a crosswind. It's still maybe a little bit that direction, but it's pushing away from the camera, you know, from the camera towards the opposite sideline here. So a little bit of a crosswind. We might see a few throws. We saw that first turn from Navy's O-line, the up line to Bassett kind of pop up on him. That was all the wind that's pushing that direction, pushing that disc. So see how the teams are able to adjust here to the conditions changing on them a little bit. Beautiful dog in the background there, Theo.
Women's team, I believe, as well, cheering on their squad. And Williams, the men's team, they were pretty loose at half, dancing, chatting, and just honestly enjoying themselves.
Yeah, we tried to do a little investigative journalism on some of the hand gestures and cheers that we were seeing from their sideline, and unfortunate to report that we can't really share the explanations with our audience here, but let's just say that the team is buying into what we described as their loose, fun nature. We see them being a little too loose with their decision-making there, and Navy now has the disc to try and get their break back.
Ethan Chandler had the block, but it gets reciprocated with a block of their own from Oscar Triggs, who runs through and claps his hands in celebration.
As we saw, that's the wind. That's the wind we talked about right there. It's that same exact throw. Anytime the bottom of the disc gets exposed to the camera over here, the wind is going to have an impact on it, make it pop up. These teams are going to have to make that adjustment here when throwing towards this direction.
I definitely feel the wind at our back right now from the booth. And Pyle can't make a play, as making a stand was McBain. Klein on the turn. And that throw over the flags and out of bounds.
Yeah, Klein was really impressive in the first half. I think he led the team with 5 assists, but been a little loose with his decision making here early on. That's his second turnover just of this point, and Williams 10 to go as Klein goes, so he's going to need to get that dialed in for them to find the mojo that they had in the first half.
Pyle gets an easy reset here, but in his own end zone right now. See Buckeye kind of hunting around for a block here.
Yeah, the wind is picking up, and there doesn't seem to be much happening for Navy in terms of some sort of flow or movement. They're working laterally and backwards every time.
A little Callahan territory, perhaps.
I've seen Benedetti in these scenarios sometimes just choose to play the field position game and punt it. He's being patient so far, but don't be shocked to see him uncork one here shortly.
Self calls a travel, moves the disc back. Good spirit there from Benedetti as he gets over to Palmer. They have worked it sort of out of their end zone. It's a hand block by Klein, who flips it to Buckeye. But there is a call. Got a little too excited there with the hand block and then flip for the score.
You know, the travel is called here. It looked like Klein did a good job of getting a pivot foot set. We'll see what the observer thinks.
Leave it. Okay. All right. My ruling is that it was not a travel. He did touch it to the ground. Yeah, I saw it. So we have a goal.
Well, we said Williams goes as Klein goes, and guess who shows up to get the point block and flip it in for the assist to get the hold for Williams? It was Klein once again, and Navy just having to throw the disc laterally too many times in their own end zone. Couldn't find any sort of vertical movement downfield. Just really good stifling pressure from Williams, and they're able to get the hold, and Navy back out on offense, searching to try and give their D-line another chance.
Were you surprised there for them not to send it deep at that point, play some of the field position game? Just based on what you know about this Navy squad.
I was surprised based on my experience with them and what I've seen from them, but surprised in a pretty impressed way. They were being composed and trying to make the right play, and you know, there was a few times where I thought they maybe could have tried to flip the field, but it was really honestly just strong defense from Williams, not just the pressure at the point of attack, but also the sagging in the lanes and clogging up any opportunities for Navy to try and flip the field. So really nice work. O-line defense is something that a lot of teams take for granted, but Williams taking a lot of pride in it there to make sure they get the disc back to get their hold.
Traditional defensive line here from this WUFO squad. Bassett back in his maybe preferred role, but traditional role right now as a handler in the center of the field, working against his Williams zone.
Yeah,
that's
just
gonna be scooped up for a turnover there.
That zone up front, they're kind of funneling things to the mills. We see the hammer go up from Tannum, opens things up. Williams on the doorstep for another break.
Belaires finds Tannum, who also is in the end zone. He calls a timeout on the goal line. Veteran play we hear from the Williams sideline there. His second year on the squad, but there's a veteran play right there, I guess, as he calls the timeout.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we'll get another look or not at that block and how it transpired, but the Williams zone up front was funneling everything towards the middle, and Navy semi-broke free of that, right? Not all the way to the sideline, but got kind of outside of it, and instead of continuing out wide where the defense wasn't, tried to go back into the middle of the field, which is where all of the traffic was, and there was just no space for that here. As you see, going against right back into the middle, 26 is just kind of lurking on that, waiting for that pass to come through, and Navy just absolutely stumped by that zone look.
Jonah Tobin out there hunting there. 26 in dark. 26 in your program. I don't know if 26 in your hearts.
It's funny to see, you know, the timeouts go unused largely in the first half, and here on our third point out of half, we've already had one called, and not sure it was needed by Williams. They had some momentum there within the chaos that I think they could have used to their advantage, but you know, they'll have something drawn up here. We've seen them be aggressive coming from the front of the stack. Something to keep an eye on here with Belair's. He's been a goal-scoring machine for them, finding opportunities. Look for him to maybe be aggressive from that front of the stack spot.
Got the 6'3" Nathan McDougal on the mark. Belair's cutting open side. It's a break throw instead. Jonah Tobin celebrating with his squad as he gets the break.
Yeah, that's bookends for Tobin. We saw Belair's make a really strong cut to the front cone. Kind of had his defender sealed out, but able to use that momentum to kind of shift the Navy defense just enough for Tandem to get low and throw that break. Nice play coming out of the timeout for Williams. Well done by Coach Savage drawing that up.
With Williams getting that break, Navy, they're treading into a little bit of dangerous territory. Still lots of game left, Mike, but you know, it's a game to 15, so Navy gonna dial up a big-time O-line here.
Yeah, I expect to see someone crossing over. I would be surprised if we didn't see some sort of deep look for Bassett on this point, right? That's been the most effective go-to for Navy, is getting him downfield, using his athleticism, and being able to cross over one of the throwers to put it up to him. And it looks like we're going to see both Benedetti and Pyle cross over here. You know, it's one of those tricky things where they've got to get a hold to get their defense back out there, but they got to also make sure that their defense has the legs to dig out of this hole that's been created. So going to be a difficult half of line calling for Coach Stira, trying to figure out the recipe to get his team back into the game.
That's also why you're up here and maybe not down there with the clipboard running. You don't have to make those decisions. We just get to analyze them here.
We get to criticize them, right? We don't have any accountability of having to make them ourselves.
That throw a little wobbly there, but does work out for Navy as they slice through this zone. Benedetti going every other. Has Bassett going deep. Had the box out, but maybe over-jumped it a little bit.
Yeah, had to worry about playing the defender and the disc there, and did a little too much of the former and not enough of the latter. He was able to seal him out, but unable to then find it and go up and make the play. That was number 69, Alex Kim, doing a really nice job of legal physicality, using his body to joust with the receiver, but in a way that's allowed. And you see Bassett pop right back up, now on the mark against Klein.
Klein crossing over. We saw him cross over for the point for half. Great save there from Tandem.
That's another flick break around for Tandem. He threw the break with that throw on the last point and opened up the field for his team there on that one. As we see him do it again, really dialing in that throw.
Him and Klein really running this point here. Finds Tobin, back to Klein. And Tandem had the disc. The right hand, you heard the O's from the sideline. That would have put them up 4.
Well, Tandem got a hand on it and easily could have caught it, but there's just no need for Klein to throw that. I mean, there was no stall. His mark was lagging behind him. He'd been able to run and get the disc wherever he wanted that whole point, that whole possession. There's just no need to force that. And speaking of forcing it, Pyle trying to get the disc back into Benedetti's hands, and Williams now. And I think, you know, we've pointed out and been I say we, it's been me, critical of a couple of Klein's turnovers, but one thing I appreciate about him, one thing I appreciate about it, though, is when he does turn it over, he locks right back in to get the disc back. I don't think anybody can accuse him of resting or taking time off on either side of the disc, and that's whether he's trying to get the disc back on an O point or trying to get the disc in the first place on a D point. You know, he's really dialed in and taken pride in owning when he's made a mistake and trying to rectify it. And I think we've seen a couple times where he gets a turnover on a point, but then is instrumental in getting it back and then punching it in for Rufo. So he's had a great game so far, and Williams now with all the momentum in the world, a 4-point cushion. Navy's dug themselves out of holes like this season, but against a team of Williams' caliber, it's going to be difficult for them to do.
Coach Savage there talking to the defensive line right now, and Navy coming out off of their timeout. Bassett on the field. Josh Morin, Benedetti, Thomas Bowie, Nathan McDougall, Sean Hogan out there. Add Chuck Dunn on that, the Spirit captain from Massachusetts, for this Navy offensive line. And conversely, for Williams, same kind of defensive players. Bellaire's with the pull for Wufo. That's going to roll, and Hogan's going to have to grab that and flip it to Benedetti.
Yeah, one of the things that Williams has done to kind of take away the deep game for Navy is go with this zone look. You see the disc kind of floating there.
Bassett
see how long they stay
composed.
in it. Yeah, sorry about that, Theo. Be curious to see how long they stay in it.
Benedetti a little hop to get some yards and working over to Hogan. No mark allows kind of them to break free. See if that gets ruled in a goal. Josh Moran does get the goal. McDougall on the assist.
That's just good, clean football on the hit there. Really squares up the offensive player, hits him between the shoulder pads. No, but all joking aside, just some collision on some momentum there. But, you know, really nice patient work from Navy. They got inside the zone, popped it up the middle, and then were able to bounce it outside here. You see Benedetti getting it with momentum and bouncing it out wide. And that's what we talked about before, where once they get that initial penetration look, they have to look to go back out wide where the help isn't, right? Williams wants them to try and run it through the middle of the field. Once you get that one forward momentum look in the middle, as soon as you look laterally, look horizontally to the sidelines, that's where the space is. That's where the options are. See if Navy can figure that out in time to try and claw themselves back into this game.
Gonna do that on the backs of Benedetti and Pyle, their D-line stalwarts, amongst others. And if you're enjoying this coverage, you gotta tune in to more of it. Go to ultiworld.com/subscribe. We got an exciting 4-5 matchup. The Richmond Spider Monkeys and the Whitman Sweets coming at you 1 o'clock Eastern. And you had talked about there's been only one upset so far and affected this pool.
Yeah, we saw Whitman get upset in their first game by Missouri S&T, and we're trying to get updates on what's going on in the rest of the pool. We'll see if we can get a score to see how they're doing in their game right now. But that's a game that could have implications for who wins the pool. Could see some tiebreaker scenarios come into play. Pool D, there's always chaos with that 4-5-9 grouping. Figuring it out, tune in to see how that all shakes out.
Great inside shot from Klein, did get them some momentum here, and he's been really quarterbacking, along with Buckite, who had a great upper body block earlier. That's going to be on the highlight reels for years to come. You're not going to see that every broadcast. As Klein has it, nice little give and go movement. And just so fast, great bid attempt from Benedetti. But Williams gets the score.
The speed and quickness with which Klein gets the disc out of his hands. I mean, there's multiple times where on that point he caught the disc and had it right back out of his hands before his mark could even utter a stall. You watch him here on the replay, makes a good aggressive strike cut. He gets it and pops it right back. Keep the momentum going. That's just really good small ball ultimate from Williams. You know, we see That's kind of the meta in Frisbee right now, is a lot of that small ball handler stuff. And, you know, Williams putting on a display here, doing it really effectively there. And, you know, Navy's a taller team and a bigger team than Williams, but none of that stuff matters when the disc is moving and flowing that quickly. Really good stuff from the Williams O-line.
So now if you're Navy, gotta slowly claw back in this game, as you mentioned. Got to get this hold, of course, first, going left to right on your screen, and then going on a potential little break train to get things tighter here. Benedetti back out here on offense.
So we saw Navy crack the Williams zone on that last point. Be interesting to see if Coach Savage chooses to run that zone back out and let Navy continue to get more comfortable, or if they maybe switch up the look here to prevent Navy from settling in. It's those little decisions that coaches have to make that could go either way. We'll see which way they go with here. It looks like a matchup look.
McDougal draws the Belairs matchup, looking for a reset. Does find it in Patty. And that throw, not the intended target. See him slam his hand in frustration here. And Tamarchenko going to quarterback this D-line offense. Chance to go up 5 here for Williams.
This is a tipping point right here, Theo. I think a goal from Williams here might just seal this deal.
Tandem fakes the back and had a free around, doesn't hit it. Good effort, but Benedetti making the play. Let's see if there's a call, talking with Josh Tobin there.
Yeah, looks like no foul call there. Pretty good from Tobin having that conversation. With that much contact, and especially Benedetti, maybe twice the size of Tobin, I actually kind of expected a foul call, but I think the disc went into a space that wasn't claimed by either player, and both were making fair plays on the disc, and those kind of plays are always going to end up in some amount of contact, and appreciate both players being spirited about it and us keeping the game going. That's good stuff right there. That's what we want to see.
Benedetti give and go, but now Dunn has it. Earlier, Bassett was going deep, but they elected to kind of work small ball style instead. And now going with the long shot for the score.
That's a great throw from Benedetti. You could almost see him kind of like ease up on his release, right? We've seen him muscle a few flicks and really put it on a line, but he was able to dial that one a little bit there, dial it back to Dalton Jones and put the perfect touch on it, let the wind actually help his throw there instead of him trying to fight it and muscle through it. And, you know, we've talked about teams figuring out how to throw to that part of the field in this wind, and that's as good as you can do it there from Benedetti.
So now I'm gonna ask you to put your coaching hat on here, Mike. Your Coach Stira at Navy. What are you trying to dial up right now with your defensive sets, trying to kind of stop the Williams offensive momentum here?
Yeah, it's funny you ask that, because I actually saw Stira pull Benedetti aside and talk to him a little bit one-on-one prior to getting the line out there for this point. I'm wondering if there's a certain matchup maybe that they're struggling to deal with or trying to make a specific call for. You know, I think that the key on defense is to try and, one, take an opponent out of their A game, out of their preferred style, and B, try and lure them into where your advantage is. And we talked about in the last point, the small ball stuff, Navy can't keep up with Williams on that stuff. Navy doesn't want to play that way. It's what Williams is good at, and it eliminates Navy's strength, which is their athleticism. I think at this point, you have to give yourself chances at blocks and also try and bait mistakes from Williams. If I were Navy, I'd be trying to set up here in a way that kind of baits or elicits a deep shot from Williams. As we see a scuba go up, it's just another stall zero throw from Klein that doesn't need to go up. I don't understand. He's been so good in getting whatever he wants. He lets the defense off the hook when he makes a decision like that. And now Navy's got a chance. They got about 10 yards to go for a break.
I was going to say you're a prophet there, Mike, because you called that one up. They're trying to bait that look. Benedetti in the deep space. Ulo Journey now. As they're trying to get this break, reduce the deficit to 2. Inside shot. Thought it might be too hot to handle for Bassett, but no, he grabs it for the break. And Navy only down 2 now.
Oh man, like I don't want to harp on that throw from Klein too much, because again, he has been phenomenal in this game. but it's tough to even see what he was seeing there with the wind going and with Benedetti back there. Let me rephrase it like this. We haven't seen Navy beat Williams yet in this game. We've seen Williams beat Williams in this game. We obviously don't have this counted in front of us, but I would venture that 95% of the turnovers we've seen from Williams in this game have been self-afflicted, have been them either rushing a decision or popping up a throw. Williams here has to dial in and realize, like, we are the ones who are going to dictate this game. We can decide if we're going to finish this out, if we're going to stick to our style, if we're going to do the things that Navy hasn't stopped, or if they're going to give in and start throwing up shots like that and give Navy a chance to get back into this game.
To note for the audience, Bellairs and Tandem crossing over to this offensive line with Overholt, who's remains out there, and Klein, Buckeye.
Want to give a little update here. We were talking about the matchup we have in the next round, Whitman and Richmond. Richmond, last update, was currently losing 9-8 to Missouri S&T, while Whitman was winning 9-7 against Rochester. If those two results hold, that next game between Richmond and Whitman will be to decide Pool D, as we see the blade brought down by Tandem there.
Bellairs and Tandem working, and then finds its way to Overholt. And Williams gets the much needed hold, had a couple D-line crossovers. Tandem and Bellairs putting their stamp on it.
And we saw another sketchy over-the-top throw to that middle part of the field, but this time throwing a blade, something that's going to drop quickly instead of hang like that scuba on the previous point. And Tandem makes a nice athletic catch to go up and grab it in some traffic. And then momentum's able to carry Williams in for the hold. And now it's on Navy to answer and give their defense another chance to try and claw back into this game.
Will Savage, the coach out there, talking to his squad. Buckeye gonna take this defensive point here. Been really impressed with the freshman. Just a rookie. You didn't know that. That he was gonna be making plays like that as a rookie. Come on, the rookie's stepping up.
Very impressive. Impressive on a couple fronts. One, impressive with the trust that Williams has in him and what they ask him to do and believe in him to be able to do. But then also for him to be so consistent and steady in the role that they've entrusted him with, you know, making sound decisions and handling whatever matchup Navy's thrown at him. He's been very impressive in this game.
2 points away from sealing up this victory here, and Navy's gonna have something to say about that, as that pull is gonna result in a brick mark for Dunn.
Yeah, after playing 3 points in a row there, Benedetti coming off on this point, which forces Bassett back into the handler space. That's something we've seen be kind of a sticking point for Navy, not being able to have Bassett downfield. We'll see if they can work through this zone.
They have Hogan as this handler on the close sideline. Been studying the O-line handler space for them. Tamarchenko on the mark right now, and almost a drop throw there.
And you can see on the left side of your screen that the Navy's cutters are attacking similar spaces. They're not doing a good enough job of stretching that second level of this zone. They've got to get on the same page downfield so that when this disc pops outside of the force middle, there needs to be a continuation look there. And for what it's worth, the throwers have to look to hit those continuation looks as well. Eyes were looking primarily in the middle of the field. Get it outside of the contain of this zone.
Dunn finds Bassett, who then gets it to this close side. See if they can get it downfield.
But that's good, right? They got around the contain and picked up about 10 yards. Now be patient and do it again.
Coach Mike Ball in the booth really giving some inspiration to this Navy side here. Good bid attempt from Tandem, but did come up empty. Person now from this Williams-Wufo squad. High throw's gonna go over a couple players, but Bowie's gonna get that one. Don't know if Nathan McDougall drew it up like that, but it will work out for them.
I have a feeling if you were to ask him, Theo, that was exactly who he was aiming for. That happened exactly how he wanted it. the patience from Navy on that zone offense point was so much more improved from what we've been seeing from them in this game. One of my first coaches, actually my first coach in Ultimate, a guy named Brian Gain, used to say, one of his favorite sayings was, "Heaven is an endless field of zone offense," and Gain is an offensive handler in his playing career, and so it tracks that he would say that. But one of the things he used to always preach to us is like, you get to dictate how this goes, right? You get to dictate where the disc moves. Don't let the zone dictate it for you. And you can make this as easy or as hard as you want it. And on that point, Navy made it easy. They simplified with their looks. They swung the disc, found the moments to attack. They weren't trying to thread the needle up the middle and make the fancy cool throw. They just made a bunch of simple throws, and it worked out for them. And I'll be curious to see if Williams goes back to that zone, because it seems like Navy's starting to get it figured out.
What helps for that offensive point for them as well is they didn't have Benedetti or Pyle having to cross over. So now if they need to get a couple breaks, which they do, and play them multiple times, they're going to be fresh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same offensive line that we've seen all day from this Williams team. Line in the middle. Zings it forward, and an unforced turnover happens again. And now Navy going quick. Veloz feathering it forward. Cummins needs a reset. He's looking for Pyle, who does get it. Inside shot, finds Wulo Journey, the kick spike, and it's a 1-point game, folks.
And just like that, you can feel Williams tightening up a little bit. You can feel the pressure of the moment. Every throw having that much more gravity to it. It got sketchy a couple times there for Navy, but they were able to find the resets they need and then thread the needle on the inside flick for the break. And you see a first throw turnover again from Klein, just trying to force it into the middle where all that congestion is. You'd like to see him be a little more patient and move the disc laterally first to create bigger windows for those throws instead of trying to hit the home run on the first pitch, if you will.
Tandem Bel-Airs, we've seen them do this before. They're going to cross over onto the offensive line. Klein, Buckite, McBain, Kendall, and Overholt are your offensive line here. As we see Navy, Wulo Journey celebrating there, and their defensive line is out. Benedetti and Pyle remain out there. Veloz was on that point as well previously.
Well, and something else to note for Navy, last point and this point, no Bassett on the field. They got that break without needing to have Bassett out there, and really keeps them in it to where if they can get another, they've got one of their best players fresh and ready to go to get out there and potentially make the difference.
Benedetti hovering in the deep space, guarding Bel-Airs right now. Nice inside shot from Klein, trying to get them out of trouble. He's had some great assists and has a lot in this game, but he's also had a couple unforced turnovers.
Yeah, he's a loud player, right? Like, for good or bad, we're going to be talking about and seeing what he does out there as we see the stall count rising.
Tandem does get it, now draws the Pyle mark. Tandem once again, and a little give-go for the score for Williams, so they do get the hold.
Yeah, one sketchy high stall look there, but Klein able to kind of flip it was almost like an underhanded scoober. That doesn't entirely make sense, but it was a weird release that he had on.
Has Bassett, but he's being locked down there downfield by Lay. And as I say that, he does break free for the score. You can't stop him forever.
Honestly, you called it. It was a great spot on your part. Lay shut down multiple cuts there from Bassett, but asking someone to guard a player of Bassett's quality in isolation for that long of a period of time is always going to be a tall task and a tough ask. And so now 14-13, nothing left to say for here from Navy. I expect to see them put their best 7 out there on the field to give it everything they've got to try and just get one more break to stretch this game out just a little bit longer.
And with that top 7, you get the break. You have the timeout too, so you could use that and then send the same 7 out if you decide to. Bassett with 5 goals here. Would be shocked to not see him on the field. Of course, he is on the field there. Some water being given out as well by Bowie.
And the wind is picking up here a little bit too, Theo. We'll see if that comes into play, but it's been staying pretty steadily in that 5 to 10 range. It's gusting right now, probably upwards of 15. You see on your screen there looking like 12 miles per hour, but it's definitely on the higher end of what we've seen it so far today. And as a D-line, you know, any advantage you can get, any help you can get, if Mother Nature wants to jump in as the 8th defender, you'll take it. So see what Navy has drawn up here and see if Williams can withstand the pressure.
They're going to try to withstand the pressure with Tandem on this point instead of Triggs, who's been a lot for them offensively. So Tandem going to be out there and probably going to tap it into Buckeye. McBain flipping it to Klein. Is Klein going to be conservative here or trying to shoot for the win? We're going to find out.
I like the Bassett matchup, though.
McBain getting a free under there and looking for a reset, finding Kendall. So now Klein, disc in his hands. 14-13 for Williams right now. Tough grab with pressure. Tandem gets free, but there is a call.
I think the stoppage here might actually benefit Williams. It gives them a second to here call out what group they want in their end zone set, who they want to be involved, as they're just 10 yards away from securing their second victory of the day.
Overholt is downfield right now.
Yeah,
with
you
a
come to
big
us.
mismatch as well, height-wise.
We didn't have a perspective on this, so we're just going to leave it as a regular pick, a contested pick, so it'll go back either way.
Pick will send the disc back to Klein here, and you mentioned he got number 12 in white, Jack Bassett as the matchup. Got a long mark to deal with, and we've seen him hit those inside shots really well, and then that helps sets up his big flick around. See what he decides to do here as Reed Kendall as his reset.
Navy's got to really prioritize taking away the foresight here. Make Williams throw into the teeth of this wind. Make them put the disc up in a way that could pop up. As we see a huge layout block there, and Navy gets the disc back. What a play. Oh my goodness, Theo.
Josh Moran flying through. Benedetti picking up. Has Pyle in the handler space. Stall count is rising. Gets the reset off.
This is a dangerous spot for Navy here. They've got to find a way to get out of that corner.
You can see the throws wobbling a little bit with the wind going towards this side of the field. Benedetti trying to go every other potentially with Williams setting the zone. Love that their offense decided to do that here. Quickly transitioning to it and almost a bobble from Pyle. Great run through block from Tandem. Klein going deep. McBain is there, so is Tandem. Overholt trying to get involved. And the disc just sails over everyone there.
I'm surprised not to see a foul call from Klein. It looked like Navy was being physical on the mark, trying to prevent that throw from even going up.
Grab by Moran to save things for Navy. This is a defensive point for them. They're trying to force Universe point. We're so excited you tuned in a hand block. You tuned in for that. A hand block from Kellen McBain.
Benedetti stepping in to take the Klein matchup here.
Nice little cut from Buckeye, who saves it with the layout. Less than 10 yards away. Little two-hand flip.
Navy being pretty loose with the force here, just really selling out to try and get blocks. They need to be consistent and pick one way as we see the blade go up.
Klein looking for Overholt. And Velois trying to make a play. He might be calling an injury here too, the way he came up after that one. Velois out there, number 37, but he's going to stay on the field for Navy.
Navy's got to find a way to be aggressive deep here, right? I know Williams is playing this zone look, but out of flow, they've had a few opportunities for Benedetti to try and power one, but nobody's looking to attack that space. They need to make sure that Williams is having to defend all 70 yards of the field and not able to just clamp in and congest things.
Short field turnover would be rather dangerous, of course, here, and they get a two-pile, and They're not even really looking downfield once they receive the disc. Great bid attempt, got to get back up and bobble, caught by Benedetti.
Bassett's got to get involved. He's just hanging out downfield here, and Benedetti's being asked to do way too much work, and Tannum able to get a read on it.
Klein had McBain, but he drops it. The wind picking up at the most inopportune time.
Yeah, Benedetti's sick of this. He's looking to just boost it.
He does just that. Bassett trying to make a play, but good positioning from Bel Airs. Some discussion to be had here, of course, from the observers.
You see the replay here. Initially, I didn't think there was much of a foul. I mean, there's a little bit of hand fighting, but it was a speculative throw at best. Yeah, I couldn't see that getting rewarded by the observers. Not sure I'm a huge fan of that foul call. Both players creating contact there, and I think the observer got that right.
Bassett did his best to come back to it, throw a little bit under there, and try to make a play, especially when you're trying to force that universe point. There's been 4 turnovers apiece here. Klein zipping it over to Tannum.
And some confusion there from Navy on what they wanted the force to be. Bassett originally called home, but then the sideline flipping it to away. And we're seeing some miscommunication downfield here, I think, from what people are setting.
Buckeye looks off Klein, instead finds Kendall. And a timeout called from Williams. I'm going to say I love that veteran timeout call. You saw things getting sloppier. There have been multiple turnovers for each side. And now Williams going to set their offense up in the end zone. Set with Klein with the disc. Williams up 14-13 right now, knocking on the door of another victory.
What are they, spaceships from Mars? No, they're frisbees. Watch it soar. It flies way around like a bird. You can even run for a pass. You can play all kinds of games. Isn't it amazing? Frisbee Flying Saucer. Yours at toy, drug, and department stores.
Thank you for tuning in to the coverage of the 2023 D3 College Championships. Williams knocking on the door of another Pool B victory. They won their first one over Colorado School of Mines and trying to get a big W over Navy Poseidon. They got the disc in their big handler's hands. Great bid attempt from Dunn. Gets up right away to set the mark on Kendall. Nice little cut from Klein. A couple yards away. Klein flipping it at Tannum. And it's ruled a goal. Williams takes it 15-13.
I cannot believe Dunn didn't get the block on that bid there. He was sizing it up the whole time, had a line on it. I thought he had it, but Williams are able to retain possession there, and then just a few more quick flips up the force side. And WUFO are able to withstand the late pressure from Navy, as you see the missed layout there. What an incredible game, Theo. I mean, intensity and pressure from both sides. I don't know how much more exciting of a game we could have asked for.
What a job by Klein to really suck Bassett into the handle space, then explode up line for the score. If you love this coverage, you got to subscribe to ultiworld.com. We got an exciting Pool D match between Richmond and Whitman coming at you in one. And then after that, we got Mount Holyoke and Portland Uproar in the women's division. And of course, we'll have a corresponding stream happening at the same time. So you got more D3 coverage than we've ever had. Taking a look at these stats, Mike, what sticks out to you?
I think what sticks out to me is the stats are all just as close as the game was. I mean, there's not any separation or gap between either team. I mean, both teams had ample break opportunities. both teams had relatively same amount of clean holds and had the same amount of holds. You know, Williams started this game on offense and managed to secure one more break. I think coming into this game, if you'd have told Williams in a game to 15 that they were only going to give up 3 breaks to this Navy team who's known for having intense defensive pressure and for going on big runs, I think Williams would have been thrilled about that. And you see it pay off with a win there. Really strong stuff from both teams.
What an exciting contest here on YouTube, the free stream game of the day. Lots of action coming at you, and Klein had a game. There were points where he did have some turnovers, but he turned it around and was able to get a nice cut towards the end of that contest that set up the score and the flip to Tandem. Navy had some opportunities. They did a really good job trying to come back there, Mike.
Yeah, it took them a little bit, but they eventually figured out that zone and then were able to throw a zone of their own that created some opportunities for themselves. Some missed chances, some poor decisions on offense ending up to be too much for them to overcome. But this is just a really exciting game that stayed tight throughout, and I'm honored that we got to be here for it, Theo.
An excellent effort from both teams, showcasing the best of D3 Ultimate. Williams Wufo takes this one 15-13.